He mocked my accent in front of clients, but the next call left him begging for help. He humiliated me for my voice in front of everyone, never realizing that my accent would become the very thing that destroyed his career. The glass conference room felt like a stage, and I was about to become the unwilling star of a tragedy. I stood at the front, presenting a major marketing campaign to our most important clients, my presentation slide glowing behind me. I'd practiced this pitch 100 times in front of my bathroom mirror at home. I knew every word, every transition, every data point. My heart was beating steadily. I was confident. I was ready. And then Nathan interrupted me mid-sentence. Wait, he said, holding up his hand with a smirk plastered across his face. I paused, confused about what was wrong. Then he repeated my words back to me, but not in my voice. He exaggerated my accent deliberately, making it sound ridiculous and foreign. These campaign will revolutionize your brand, he mocked, rolling his R's in an offensive way. The room fell absolutely silent. I felt my face go hot with embarrassment. My hands started shaking. Some of the clients looked uncomfortable. Others actually laughed at his joke. Nathan grinned at me like he'd said something hilarious. Just breaking the ice, Sandra, he said, as if mocking someone's voice was acceptable behavior in a professional setting. That moment changed everything inside me. Something inside my chest snapped, and I made a silent promise to myself right then and there. He would never humiliate me again. After the meeting ended, I excused myself to the bathroom and locked the door. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the devastated person staring back at me. My hands were still trembling. I could hear the echo of his mockery in my head over and over. About an hour later, I overheard Nathan in the hallway talking to a junior staffer from our team. Did you hear her accent? He was saying, laughing loudly. Sounds like she's straight out of a telenovela. I was surprised the clients could even understand her. The junior staffer looked uncomfortable and tried to walk away. I stepped out from where I'd been hiding, and our eyes met. I could see the shame in her face for him. That night, I marched to HR's office with my head held high and my heart pounding. I explained what Nathan had said and done in the meeting. The HR manager, a woman named Patricia, sighed and said, "He's just being playful. Nathan has a big personality. He doesn't mean anything harmful by it." Playful? He'd humiliated me in front of major clients, and they were calling it playful. That's when I realized something crucial. This company protected charm over character. It protected people like Nathan who made people laugh, even when that laughter came at someone else's expense. I was on my own. That realization made me make a decision that would change my entire career trajectory. Starting that very day, I began documenting everything systematically. I created a spreadsheet with dates, times, and exact quotes of every insulting comment Nathan made. I noted who was present during each incident. I even started recording client reactions during meetings using my phone's voice memo app discreetly. But something unexpected happened during those recordings. A senior client, someone who'd been working with our company for years, made a comment that sparked something inside me. After a presentation where Nathan had interrupted me 3 times, this client pulled me aside and said, "Your voice feels genuine, Sandra. It feels authentic. That's rare in this industry." Those words hit me like a revelation. My accent wasn't a flaw. My voice wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was my brand. It was what made me different. It was authentic. From that moment, I stopped trying to hide my accent. Instead, I started using it intentionally. I emphasized my words confidently. I let my natural rhythm and intonation shine through in client calls. And something magical started happening. Clients began requesting me specifically for follow-up meetings. They asked for me to lead presentations instead of Nathan. They specifically wanted me on their accounts. Nathan's smile grew tighter and tighter every time he heard my name mentioned in these requests. He started scheduling retraining sessions with me, claiming he wanted to refine my tone and communication style. What he really wanted was to intimidate me into reverting to the scared, silent version of myself. But I was done being scared. I attended every retraining session and recorded every single one of them on my phone. During one particularly cruel session, Nathan slipped and revealed his true feelings. "You sound too foreign for a brand," he said coldly. "Our clients need someone who sounds more American, more polished, more mainstream." I had it on record. His own words condemning him. His own voice revealing his prejudice. I saved that recording immediately and filed it away with all the other evidence I'd been gathering. I was building a case, though I didn't know exactly what I'd use it for yet. About 3 months into my documentation, something unexpected happened. A long-term client who'd been with our company for nearly a decade noticed something during a meeting. Nathan kept interrupting me whenever I tried to contribute. He cut me off mid-sentence multiple times. The client watched this unfold, and I could see disapproval in his eyes. After the meeting ended, this client asked to speak with me privately. We went into a smaller conference room, and he closed the door. "You deserve better, Sandra," he said directly. "I've noticed how he treats you, and it's not fair. You're brilliant, and he knows it.
He's threatened by you."
My eyes filled with tears hearing someone finally acknowledge what was happening. He continued, "I have a confidential pitch coming up. It's a huge opportunity, potentially a multi-million-dollar deal. I'd like you to handle it directly. I want your voice leading this, not his."
"Can you do that?"
I nodded, barely able to speak. He was offering me a chance to prove my worth on my own terms. I agreed without hesitation, and we made plans for me to work on this project in secret, outside of Nathan's knowledge. I threw myself into that pitch with everything I had. I researched the client's brand deeply. I created a strategic marketing campaign that was innovative and bold. I incorporated their vision with my understanding of their market. I presented it to the client privately, and they were absolutely thrilled. They signed the contract on the spot. The deal was worth $5 million. It was the biggest contract our firm had landed in 2 years. I was elated. But then, in the next team meeting, Nathan took full credit for the entire pitch. He retold the entire strategy using my phrasing, my ideas, my vision. He even used specific language I'd written in my original proposal. My stomach turned watching him claim my work in front of the entire team. Our boss praised him for landing such a huge deal. Everyone applauded. And I just sat there, silent and furious. But instead of exploding in that moment, I made a conscious decision to stay calm and strategic. That night, I went home and created a new folder on my laptop. I titled it Exit Plan. I was going to leave this company, but not before I positioned myself perfectly. About a week later, an internal email leaked to me through a colleague. Nathan was being considered for a promotion to VP of Client Strategy. The email specifically cited his recent success with a $5 million deal. The decision was supposedly being made within the next few weeks. I read that email 3 times, my chest tightening with each read. But instead of feeling despair, I felt something different. I felt clarity. This timing actually worked in my favor. If Nathan got that promotion before I made my next move, it would make what happened next even more dramatic. I needed my timing to be absolutely perfect. I was checking my LinkedIn messages when something arrived that changed everything. It was from the director of a rival advertising agency, one that our company had competed against several times over the years. He had compliments about my work and mentioned that they'd been admiring my approach to campaigns. He suggested we grab coffee sometime to discuss an opportunity. I knew exactly what this was. This was my chance. This was the moment I'd been waiting for without even knowing it. I met the director of the rival firm at a quiet cafe far from our office building. His name was Marcus, and he was genuinely impressive. He had a portfolio that showcased creative campaigns and innovative thinking. More importantly, he respected his employees. During our coffee meeting, he told me he'd noticed my work over the years. He said he was impressed not just by my technical skills, but by my integrity and authenticity. He explained that his firm was working on some major new projects and needed someone with my vision. He offered me a confidential consulting role to test my skills and see if we'd be a good long-term fit. The position would pay double what I made at my current job, with flexibility to work remotely. I accepted under one critical condition. This had to stay completely confidential. He agreed. As he handed me the details, he mentioned that one of the projects they were working on was for a global brand that our current firm was also trying to court. It was the same client that Nathan had mentioned in a team meeting as his next big target. This was perfect. I began living a double life. By day, I was the perfect employee at my current firm, working under Nathan's management while secretly helping the rival agency on confidential projects. My insights helped them develop a winning strategy for the global brand campaign. They won a key subcontract that would generate significant revenue for their firm. Meanwhile, Nathan started noticing something odd about my behavior. My newfound confidence and calm unnerved him. He couldn't figure out where my sudden peace came from. He tried reasserting his dominance the way he always did, by mocking me again during a team call with several executives present. He mimicked my accent while I was speaking, and the room went quiet again. But this time, something different happened. One of the executives who was on the call, a woman named Victoria who'd recently joined our leadership team, was visibly uncomfortable. I saw her face tighten with disapproval. She quietly recorded the call on her laptop. She didn't say anything in the moment, but I could see the anger in her eyes. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like and subscribe right now. This is where it gets really intense. A formal HR complaint arrived at the office 2 days later, but it wasn't from me. It was from Victoria. She documented Nathan's behavior meticulously and filed an official complaint for creating a hostile work environment through mockery and discrimination based on national origin. Nathan was furious and demanded to know who'd filed the complaint. He suspected it was me, but I played completely oblivious. I even brought him a coffee and asked how his day was going. He snapped at me, paranoia clearly setting in. He started acting erratically, accusing different people of being the snitch. Our boss called an HR-facilitated meeting to discuss the complaint. Nathan tried to defend himself, claiming he was just joking and that people were being too sensitive. But Victoria had documented everything thoroughly. The complaint was serious and credible. HR announced that they were launching an internal review. And then, unexpectedly, I was quietly promoted to lead a new client division. One that would put me in a position of authority over several accounts that Nathan had been managing. The restructuring happened faster than I expected. Temporarily, Nathan actually reported to me due to the new organizational changes. He couldn't hide his disgust about the situation. Every meeting was painful for him. I treated him with perfect professionalism, addressing him as Mr. Cross in meetings even though we'd worked together for years. I remained cordial and businesslike. But the clients noticed the shift immediately. They noticed my confidence and poise. They preferred dealing with me directly. During a meeting, a long-term client told Nathan bluntly, "You should learn from Sandra. She connects with us better than you ever could. Her approach is more authentic." The words hit Nathan like a physical blow. He couldn't even respond. I simply continued the meeting professionally, as if the compliment hadn't just been delivered in his presence. That evening, I knew I had to make my final move. I gathered performance metrics that showed my division's growth versus Nathan's declining numbers. I prepared a polished, professional report for upper management that laid out the data clearly. The numbers didn't lie. My clients were renewing contracts at a higher rate. My accounts were growing. My team was meeting targets. Nathan's division was stagnating and losing ground. I scheduled a meeting with our CEO and CFO to present my findings. But Nathan found out about the meeting and decided to sabotage me. He broke into my email and altered my presentation file, changing key data points to make my numbers look less impressive and inserting unflattering comments about my management style. He thought he was so clever. But I'd anticipated this move. I'd submitted my original version to the CEO's office the night before, along with a backup copy sent to my personal email. During the meeting, when Nathan's sabotaged version was discovered, it was immediately obvious what had happened. The CEO pulled up both versions side by side. The executives could see exactly what Nathan had done. The altered version was undeniable proof of his dishonesty. HR issued Nathan a serious reprimand for the sabotage. His promotion to VP was officially put on hold pending a full investigation. He was humiliated in front of upper management. I felt a small sense of satisfaction, but I wasn't done yet. A few days later, I ran into him in the hallway, and he looked absolutely defeated. I stopped and asked him how he was doing with genuine concern in my voice. "Rough day," I said softly. He glared at me with pure hatred. "You think you've won?" he said through gritted teeth. I looked directly into his eyes and answered quietly, "Not yet." That night, my phone rang. It was Marcus from the rival firm. He was calling with incredible news. The global brand campaign that my consulting work had helped them win was going to be massive. They were expanding their team and wanted me to join full-time as a director. They were offering me a six-figure salary plus benefits and equity in the company. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. But I had one specific request about my start date. I negotiated a start date that aligned perfectly with my current firm's biggest upcoming pitch, a campaign led by Nathan that was supposed to be his redemption after all the recent scandals. It was set for exactly 2 weeks away. I agreed to start at the rival firm the day after that pitch presentation. The timing was absolutely perfect. I would work on Nathan's campaign, help him prepare, gain his trust one final time, and then walk away the same day he would need me most. He'd be left scrambling without his secret weapon. I accepted the job offer officially and set my resignation to be effective after the pitch day. I felt a calm settle over me. Everything was aligned. Everything was in place. During those 2 weeks leading up to the pitch, I played the role of the perfect, loyal employee. I was quiet, efficient, and dedicated. Nathan relaxed noticeably, assuming he'd finally put me in my place, and reminded me of the hierarchy. He gave me significant responsibilities on the pitch presentation, probably thinking it would make me feel invested in his success. I accepted graciously, knowing full well that this was both his trap and my greatest opportunity. I poured my heart into preparing that presentation. I made sure every detail was perfect. 2 nights before the pitch day, something unexpected happened. The main client, the one Nathan was trying to impress, contacted me directly on my personal phone. He said he'd been following my work and was genuinely impressed. He confided that he and his team had grown tired of Nathan's arrogance. They wanted authenticity and genuine connection. They wanted my voice leading their campaign. They offered me a position on their in-house marketing team, a dream job with an even larger salary than the rival firm's offer. I thanked him sincerely, but told him I couldn't accept, as I'd already committed to another opportunity. But I promised to deliver his campaign the best way possible. That night, I sat at my laptop and created 2 versions of the campaign presentation. The first version was for Nathan, professional and complete, everything he'd need to present tomorrow. The second version was for my new team at the rival firm, with additional strategic insights and deeper analysis. I scheduled my resignation email to send automatically the next day, right in the middle of the pitch presentation. I set it for 2:47 p.m. during the presentation, when maximum impact would be achieved. I wrote the email carefully, keeping it professional but clear. After careful consideration, I have decided to pursue an opportunity outside of the organization. My last day is today. Thank you for the experience. I set the auto-send and then sat back, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and purpose. Tomorrow would change everything. The boardroom was packed the next day. Executives, clients, team members, everyone important was there. Nathan was nervous but trying to hide it. I began the presentation smoothly and confidently, my voice clear and strong. My accent rang through the room exactly as it should. I presented the campaign strategy with passion and authenticity. But midway through, Nathan started interrupting me, trying to reclaim the spotlight. He kept interjecting with comments and redirections. He was trying to make the presentation about him. The clients exchanged frustrated glances. Finally, one of them said firmly, "We'd like Sandra to continue, please." Nathan's face tightened with anger and humiliation. He sat down, fuming. I continued my presentation smoothly, finishing with impact. I delivered the final line perfectly. This campaign will revolutionize your brand through authentic connection and genuine engagement. Then, right on schedule at 2:47 p.m., phones across the boardroom buzzed simultaneously. Everyone's inbox chimed. My resignation email had just arrived. Nathan's face went absolutely white as he read the email on his phone. The executives looked confused. The clients seemed stunned. I calmly gathered my materials and stood up. I apologize for the timing, I said professionally, but I've accepted a position elsewhere. Thank you all for this opportunity. I looked directly at Nathan and smiled slightly. It's been enlightening. The clients applauded for me, genuinely applauded, not for Nathan. An hour later, while I was packing my belongings at my desk, our company received notice. The client was terminating all contracts effective immediately. They were taking their business to the rival firm where they knew I'd be working. It was worth millions of dollars. It was a catastrophic loss for our company. And it was directly connected to my departure. Nathan stormed into my office as I was putting the last of my personal items into a box. Did you have something to do with this? He demanded, his voice shaking with rage. I looked at him calmly and said, I didn't. They simply made a choice. They chose authenticity and respect over arrogance. He was panicking visibly. The board wants answers, he said. They're threatening to pull every account we have with similar clients. I placed my badge on the desk, the badge that had represented my years of work at that company. That's not my problem anymore, I said quietly. I walked out of that office, out of that building, and I didn't look back. That evening, my phone rang. It was Nathan's number. I let it go to voicemail. He called 3 more times that night. I didn't answer any of them. The next morning, my phone rang again. Same number. This time, I answered. Hello, I said calmly. Nathan's voice came through, and it was trembling, barely holding together. Sandra, please. I need your help. I need you to call that client. They're listening to you. They'll reconsider if you ask them to. Please. He was begging. The powerful executive who'd mocked my voice was now desperately pleading for my assistance. I exhaled slowly and said, You mocked my voice once, Nathan. You humiliated me in front of clients. You stole my work. You tried to hold me back. And now you want me to save you? There was silence on the line. Then I said, No. The answer is no. And you know what the best part is? You can hear my voice saying it clearly now. You can hear it perfectly, without mocking it. You can hear me telling you no. He whispered. You ruined me, Sandra. I responded quietly but firmly. No, Nathan. You did this to yourself. I just stopped letting you drag me down with you. My first day at the rival firm felt surreal. I walked into a modern, creative office space where people greeted me warmly. No one mocked my accent. No one made me feel like I didn't belong. My new team welcomed me genuinely. Marcus showed me to my office and introduced me to my team members. I led my first meeting as a director at this new firm, and my accent echoed confidently through the conference room. The energy was completely different from my previous workplace. People listened. They respected me. They valued my input. A client joined the call, and after hearing my presentation, they made a comment that brought tears to my eyes. Sandra, never change that voice, they said warmly. Your authenticity is exactly what we've been looking for. I smiled and said, I never will. Not anymore. Word spread through the industry like wildfire. Nathan had been demoted after multiple client losses. Our former company had entered a period of crisis. Some people said Nathan was looking for freelance work, struggling to find new employment. Some said he'd asked to transfer to a different division within the company. Honestly, I felt no joy hearing about his downfall. I felt something different, closure. I'd proven my point. I'd shown that my voice had value. I'd shown that authenticity wins. I went back to my laptop and found the folder labeled Exit Plan. All the recordings, the documentation, the evidence I'd gathered. I looked at it for a moment and then I deleted it. I didn't need it anymore. The truth had already spoken for itself. I was free. 3 weeks into my new job, my assistant told me something unexpected. Nathan had applied for a position at our firm. He'd submitted his resume and was in the initial application phase. He probably didn't even know that I worked here now. HR scheduled him for an interview panel that included me, Marcus, and 2 other senior leaders. I was nervous about facing him again, but I also felt ready. The interview day came, and Nathan walked into the conference room. When he saw me on the panel, his face went pale. He actually gasped. Throughout the interview, he stumbled over his words. He couldn't focus. He kept looking at me, clearly hoping I'd help him or advocate for him. But I remained completely professional and impartial. I asked him tough questions about his management style. I asked him about his approach to working with diverse teams. I asked him about his values and ethics. He struggled with every answer. When the interview ended, he left the room looking devastated.
He knew he didn't get the job.
After he left, HR asked me quietly, should we move forward with him? I thought for a moment and then said, no. He's not a cultural fit for our organization. It was the most honest assessment I could give. Weeks later, I received a handwritten letter in the mail. It was from Nathan. I recognized his handwriting immediately. I opened it carefully. Inside, he'd written a genuine apology. He said he'd spent time reflecting on his behavior and realized how cruel he'd been. He wrote that he'd taken a course on unconscious bias and was trying to understand the impact of his mockery. He acknowledged that his actions had cost him his career and damaged his reputation. He asked for forgiveness, though he said he understood if I couldn't give it. I read the letter once, then again. I felt no anger as I read it. I felt only a sense of completion. I placed the letter carefully in a drawer, not out of revenge, not to hold on to it as proof, but as a symbol of peace. I'd finally let it go. I was truly free. The anger, the hurt, the desire for vindication, it had all transformed into something else. Into strength, into success, into peace. 6 months later, I was invited to speak at a national diversity and communication conference. The organizers wanted me to share my story about overcoming workplace discrimination and finding my voice. I accepted the invitation with gratitude. On stage, in front of a large audience, I shared my entire journey. I talked about the humiliation I'd felt. I talked about the documentation and the strategic planning. I talked about choosing to turn my pain into power. I talked about the importance of authenticity in professional settings. I talked about standing up for yourself without compromising your integrity. As I spoke, my accent rang through the auditorium clearly and confidently. The audience listened intently. When I finished my speech, the entire room stood up and applauded. I ended with one final line that I'd been saving. Never let anyone shame you for sounding like yourself. Your voice, exactly as it is your greatest asset. Sometimes, your voice is exactly what the world needs to hear, even if it's the voice someone else once tried to mock. I smiled at the audience, and in that moment, I felt completely vindicated. Not through revenge, but through triumph. Through becoming undeniably, authentically, unapologetically myself.